Hello, this is Dr. Melody Harris Burrow, founder and CEO of Love, Truth, and Peace. Welcome once again. This is going to be our second show, actually, our third show. We have also a show on Mondays, every Monday. And that show is in Spanish for all of my Latinos out there and my friends from Spain and everywhere in the world. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We have some wonderful guests for you. Oh my goodness. We have a guest from Nigeria, Neka Obasi, and also Mr. James Busa from Colombia. And of course, you all know Dr. Marcellus Hall, our co-host this evening and always. Welcome. Now, I want to get straight into the conversations that we're going to be having because we don't have much time. And we want to touch every topic that is mentioned in our notes and everything. And you know what? We're going to start off with Neka from Nigeria. How are you doing, Neka?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dr. Melida.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. Neka is actually an entrepreneur and an activist. Actually, she was protesting the other day and she was knocked out the next day. But it was worth it, right, Neka?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can't just sit at home in these times. Enough is enough. So we have.
Exactly. Enough is enough. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Never again is now. This is what I'm saying. Never again is now. Because I am sick and tired of watching these videos of our young people, watching these videos of our Black men and Black women and Latinos. Why don't I just say non-whites? Let's just say non-whites because that's what's happening here in America and in the world. We're catching hell. And we need to talk about these issues and what is happening in the world. And that's what this show is about. It's about talking about the empowerment, the economic empowerment of our people because this has gone too far, and we cannot win this race if we are not economically empowered. So let's start off with Neka. Tell us a little bit about you, Neka, and also let's talk about the crisis that's happening in America and, of course, Nigeria as well.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the owner of Ishafu Inc., which is um, a clothing company, and based off of African symbols and other ethnic symbols. Also, I'm the founder of a group, Moms for Justice. It's a very uh, young group, and what we do is that we want to make sure that we push various organizations and various governments to do the right thing. And
Yes.
so we're Moms for Justice and we're united for change. And so that is what is taking up my main my passion right now is all these things that are going on. As you know, it's been building. We've been doing things, trying
Yes.
to unify of us, and then this happens, and it's I see it as God's timing.
Yes,
And
it
so
is.
that talking about Nigeria, did you want me to talk about Nigeria or do you want me to talk about it in relation to
In relations to what's happening here in America.
so Nigeria is the most populous nation in Nigeria and in Africa. Uh, right now, Nigeria is the 27th largest economy in the world, and that is down from 23 in 2018. The reason for it coming down is because the price of crude oil has really fallen, and crude oil used to make up about 70% of Nigeria's GDP. But why I'm saying this is to make everyone understand when you hear third world country, poor country, Nigeria should not have any of those issues except for the same old thing as always, mismanagement. what I see in Nigeria in relation to what's happening in America is many Nigerians are ignorant of America. Many Nigerians are ignorant of African Americans or people in the Caribbean. This is because some history has been deliberately removed from curriculums for some reason. So I'm sorry, but Nigerians do not understand their relationship with other Black people in the world. Not all Nigerians. I'm just saying a lot of the masses. And if you think about it, that the median age of a Nigerian is 18.1 years of age. So this is a young population. If a child is born now and you never teach them anything about history, they don't know.
Exactly.
Now, when they do go on media, unfortunately, because Nigeria is a very religious country, either they're Muslim and they're listening to Al Jazeera and getting their news from a very Islamic Middle Eastern point of view, or they're getting their information from Christian right radio in America. And I've had to come out to tell my people, some people spell Christian with a KKK, not CH. And they're getting this negative information that is harmful to them and their people. They don't even understand it. Many of them will say, oh, Donald Trump is a Christian. Why are you people always picking on him? We're praying for him. This is so disgusting.
Yeah.
Then the Nigerians that know will try to tell them, but because they feel they've gotten it from an American source, it's hard to convince them that they don't know what is happening. And it's very frustrating to, I don't want to say educated Nigerians, because some have gone to school and they're not educated. When I say educated Nigerians, I mean people that have knowledge, they're self-aware, they know their history. This is a very frustrating thing.
Right.
However, the people that do know mounted protests. Enough is enough for them too. And they can see that this is a world thing against us. So they do have a sense of us.
Yes.
And they do. However, I feel the government could do more. And for me, the issue with the government not doing more is because this is a government that does not plug itself into this usness.
Right.
And
well, one of the things, Neka, that we have to talk about today is that, and I'm going to have James tune in because he's from Colombia. And he's a Black man. And there are many, many Black people in Colombia. One of the problems that I've seen is that Africans and people of the Caribbean and also people of Latin America are not aware, not all of them, but there is a majority, are not aware that there are people other than Brazil that they know. When we talk about Chile, Argentina, Ecuador, Colombia, Nicaragua, all these Latin American country and Caribbean country, we don't exist. Because what the media has done is portray that that these countries are all white countries.
They're white people.
And they're white people. We have to change that. How are we going to change that? By bringing awareness on this show, because the other media is not going to show. And not only that, though, anytime they show Nigeria and the other African countries in poverty all the time.
But economy in the world. And
exactly. And when we talk about Nigeria, the first thing they talk about is what? Neka, oil. And you and I know that there is more, way more than just the oil in Nigeria. Okay, so these are kind of things that we're going to touch on. I want James to step in now because we are talking about police brutality. We're talking about all of the things that we have gone through in Latin America, but no one knows, because what's happening is that they are not bringing awareness even to each other. And that's the problem. So James, tell me, you're from Colombia, you're from Cali, Colombia, and you are doing a lot of things in Colombia, and you're also an activist. Step in. Tell us about yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, Melida. Thanks for having me in this show. Marcellus and Neka, good afternoon too.
Good
All right.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my name is James. I live in the United States, in America, back in '97. So I studied there. I learned a lot of things, how people treat you, how the police treat you too. You know, comparison with the things here in Cali, in Colombia, the same.
Mm.
Because when they look at you, they don't care if you are wealthy, if you are not. They look you as a black man or as a black woman. You know, for example, when they pack searching you, they just treat with disrespect.
Mm.
You know. Also, it's a very important situation. That is the economic situation, economic development. Many of the people running the city, running this country, they don't care about our development, economic development. Melida, you've been here in Colombia, and
Yes,
you're a witness of what we do with
yes,
our corporation.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And not only
Al-
that, though, but in Colombia,
Um,
there's also a lot of racism. Yes,
Also, we always are asking for help
yes. James is breaking up a little bit. Um,
from
James, you're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit.
government.
We didn't hear that part. Yeah, yeah. But let me. I've been to Colombia in Buenaventura. Very. I've gone there so many times,
Um,
and uh, there is a crisis in
you
Buenaventura. There's a crisis in
know nice
in in, in Cali.
the
Yeah.
the
Yeah, there is.
people
He's back.
to come
Uh,
together to
Musa,
develop the
we can't hear you. We can't
here
hear
in
you, Musa.
Colombia.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay. Cut out.
he's coming out. But let me explain what I've been to Colombia many a times. I've done some work in Colombia. And what I discovered in Colombia, in Buenaventura, is that there is a port. Imagine. These are pictures I'm going to show you of Buenaventura to show the world that we are not the only one in America that is protesting. And these protests actually are happening. It's happening all the time.
Mhm.
Everything. They just killed a young man not too long ago, and there were protests. And let me show some of these pictures. These are sisters. These are our sisters. I want my brothers and sisters from Africa to see that right here in Colombia, I mean, we're brothers, we're sisters,
Mm.
and we are fighting for the same thing: police brutality, economic empowerment. You know, look at our young people. They are also fighting. You understand? Enough is enough. So if we don't do something today, if we don't do something now, we are in trouble. We have the farmers, black farmers, Spanish farmers that's work in the field. But who benefits from this? Not the Afro Colombiano. They don't benefit from these things. These are women standing and protesting, as you can see the pictures,
Mm.
you know. And who owns the port? Look at this port right here in Colombia, okay? And the rest of the region, as you can see, is complete poverty. You have the Philippines own the ports, you have the Chinese, you have all these people in the middle of the ghetto and will not give back to the community. Here are the farms, but do we own the farms? You know, we might own the farms, we might produce, but the money machine is not going to the people. It's not going back to the people. And this is the same thing that's happening in many countries. You know,
Yeah.
just going back to Nigeria, I want to show the people, look at Nigeria. Here it is. Look at Nigeria. But when they show pictures of Nigeria, they show poverty. You see, they show poverty. You see. So this is the market right here. I want to educate the people in the world to let them know that African countries are not what you think it is. You know, colonializers has come and they have colonialized these nations. And guess what? Africans only doing business with
Hmm.
Europe,
Yes.
America, China, all these different countries. This has to stop. We have to
Yes.
start doing business with each other, Marcel.
Yes. Yes.
Step in, Marcel.
Yes. I'm just in awe. I love, sitting back hearing all the wonderful information coming
Yes.
across. So many beautiful things was touched on. We talked before when I had brought up to you before we started this season, and I
Mhm.
spoke to you about my vision about unifying people through education on the global market, on the
Yeah,
global social dynamic, how this is a us situation and
yeah,
not an I or a them situation.
that's right.
When I think about from my personal experiences over here in London, and I look at how sometimes the people from Africa are treated, you
Mhm.
know, especially in Nigeria and some of these places. But these people are ignorant to the fact that, first of all, even though Nigeria gained their independence back in 1960, they're still a British Commonwealth state. So
Yeah,
and their first primary language is English. So that means they were colonized.
that's
So
right.
that means that they were invaded, that their
Yes,
resources were withdrawn and taken from that land. They were inhabited economically by people in position of power that do not look like them, and then those resources are taken out. And then when these people migrate on over to England, it's a problem. But you go there and you take everything they have, and it's typically okay. But when they come over here to the nation just to get a little bit of what rightfully belongs to them historically anyway, it's an issue. And then in turn, we see, like you said, we see the pictures of poverty, but not realizing the seventh most populous nation in the world, with over 11 different types of natural minerals, 12% of the production of oil in the entire country. I mean, the list goes
on and on.
on and
Mhm,
on. Yes.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Neka, briefly, because it's time for us to speak about unity. It
Mm,
really is. And it's very difficult though, because we are also having problems within our nations. We are also having problems within our community, tribalism, all
mm,
sorts of things. So we tend to talk about other nations and what the nations are doing to us, but we have allowed other nations to do
mm,
what they're doing. What they're
Yeah.
doing is they have us fighting with each other, bringing
Yes.
chaos into the nations. And we have to be aware of what they're doing. We are continuing to fall for this trick, this illusion that they're bringing to our nations. Okay, I understand, and you can touch on it very briefly, but
mm,
this is something that's very important to my heart because enough is enough. And I'm talking about the Igbos and the Yorubas. We need to stop fighting with each other. We need to stop disputing with each other. And it's time now for us to come together, even with other nations in Africa. You have Kenya, you have all these 55 different countries. Why is it that we cannot work together? You know why? It's because from the time that we've been colonialized, We have been defined. We have been controlled. We have been told what to do, even to kill each other. It's time for change. So, Neka, I want you to briefly tell us about what is going on, because sometimes we're fighting for something that we forgot what we're fighting for. And I
True.
think that's what's happening with Igbos and the Yorubas.
So coming to Nigeria, if you come to Nigeria today, it's not so much the fight with Igbo and Yorubas. It's the fight. It's not, the fight now is the control of the Muslim North over the whole of Nigeria. That
Okay.
seems jihadist what the feeling is that there's a jihadist agenda to take over Nigeria and Islamize it. So the people that the British kind of left in power and wanted to be in power are made to feel like they're their friends are the Hausa Fulani. And so it's the same old trick, divide and rule.
That's right.
Us globally, that's used on us in each of our countries. And so what happens a lot in Africa, which we know, we've seen some assassinations, which we suspect France of when there is a ruler who comes in and doesn't toe the line, then they're suddenly assassinated. So there's that control, but it's not an excuse. So in Nigeria, the people that take rule, because it's not always fair. Yes, they're elected sometimes, and then they're not for unity. They have this other agenda, which always does not allow for the country to fulfill her place. However, Nigerians are extremely hardworking, extremely smart, so that when you see Nigeria being one of the top economies of the world, it is despite the government. Think of what they could have if the government helped the people. So what you have in Nigeria is a big distance between the rich and the struggling. So the poorer people depend more on the government. The people who are able to be educated, like me now, I was able to be educated in Nigeria. I came out here. I can go back. I can take the money I make here. I can establish something, because manufacturing is going on, the economy is vibrant. It's a mixed income economy, it's an emerging economy. I can go and do, but the poor person, there's not really much for them to climb. Even when they go to school, it's hard for them to get jobs. So these are the things that are happening. And then on top of it, if you want to talk about police brutality, police, if you are middle class and up, will not bother you. You might be a big man. You know what we mean by big man, not fat man.
Yes, but with money.
Times, the way they harass the poor is not so much brutality, is bribes. So you have your little bus, you're making money. Every time you go through this checkpoint, they want some money from you. They want some money from you. At the end of the day, they've eaten into your profit. When you try to tell them, no, why do I have to pay? Then they beat you up.
Yes.
So, that's us doing that. So it's not so much, harassment like what we see, in some other places where there are different colors, or this is what it is for bribes. And then talking about unity, you see, unity with the world. Our top export partners, India, the USA, Spain, France, Netherlands, Germany. Before, South Africa was one of them, but I think we fell out after the xenophobia. Do you hear any of our countries in there? Our top import partners, China, we import the most from China, from Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, South Korea, the US, and India.
It
doesn't make sense. That money, if you're saying USA, it's not my people in the USA.
Exactly.
It should be. But, now some people in power are getting smarter, where they're like, oh, you're sending us this, send us a black man. They're telling companies now, oh, you want to send us a new CEO to start? No, send a black man, So that consciousness is starting, and I want to see it grow. And it's because of programs like this that the common will not be misled by media, and also the ears. never think is not succeeding, because a lot of people get into positions of power not by
Yes.
merit or by knowledge, but because they're
Yes.
someone's nephew. So
Yes.
programs help to start to educate them. So we have to,
Educate people. That's
yes.
right. Thank you, Neka. Also, I want to inject that coming soon, I will be presenting and doing a international trade mission. We're going to start with Ghana, and we're going to go further, Nigeria and Kenya and different countries. And the countries are going to be coming from Latin America, the Caribbean, people of African descent, the diaspora, because we need to trade with each other. You cannot be
Yeah.
free unless you are economically empowered. And with that
Yes.
note, we're going to go back to Mr. James Busa. We want to talk about all the different murders that's happening in Buenaventura, Cauca, in these different areas, because there are Black leaders in that region, and you can mention the other region, that are protesting for the very, very same thing that we're talking about. And why are they killing the leaders? What's happening there in that region?
Okay, thanks. Melia, it's a tough question, you know, because the reason they're getting killed is actually, you know, it's a very special job for the prosecution. But some theories, we can say that it's about the territories control, about the lords of the drugs into our territories. Also, they pretend not to have control. Actually, they try to have the control and the power of the for the economic situation about drugs. You know, because it's a rail, it's a way to have the drugs to take it out of the country. So many times that's the reason. Most of the violence is in the Pacific coast, Pacific
Exactly.
Ocean. So
Yes.
you have Chocó, Cauca, Valle, and Nariño.
Yes.
So we are having very special problem with our leaders there because they getting killed just because control our territories.
Yes.
Basically, that's the situation.
Well, they want to take control back, of what's from for their land. They want to be in possession of what they own, and because you have you have the elite that wants what they have, and that's why they're killing the leaders that have a voice, and because many don't have a voice, so there are leaders that step up, and they speak for the people, and constantly they're being killed. This has to stop. This is the government of Colombia. We need to stop killing people because they're trying to make a living. Right now, after this coronavirus, I can imagine what is happening in Chocó and Buenaventura and all these areas, because I've been in those areas many times, and I've seen the conditions of the people there. So we need to, the people in those regions, if they want to come on my show and speak, because they need a platform, James. This is what's happening. Black people need a platform, and use this platform in order for us to unite, communicate, talk about all the products that we have in our country, so we can trade with each other. That's what I'm talking about, because the bottom line, James, Aneka, is that at the end of the day, with all the killings that's happening, we need to be economically empowered. That's why the Jews said, never again is now. And what did they do? It was the now. You understand? They made something happen. They became economically empowered. That's what we have to do. You understand? If we don't become economically empowered, they're going to continue to do. We can't even get a lawyer to defend ourselves.
Yeah. I just want to interject. I wanted for brother James. I want to go back to what he was talking about yourself. You know me, I love statistics.
Yes.
I'm a research person. I just love numbers. And when you look at
Yeah,
the numbers, you look at the numbers in Colombia, it's just breathtaking. I mean, just if you looking in Cali alone, with a city with 2.2 million people, but yet, last year they had over 2,700 killings. 2,700 killings, and since 2016, 566 activists and civil leaders have been killed.
Yes.
566, and that's over the course of just 4 years.
Years.
And you compare that to New York City, a place that has 4 times the population, but 4 times the population, but 8 times less the murders, but yet is a leading city for murders in America. I mean, that alone should just let you know the state of Colombia and how serious it is, but yet you'll never read about it. You'll never
No.
hear about it. It'll
No.
never make the news.
Mhm.
And not at all. And that's the issue that we have right now. No one's aware.
Yeah. No one knows what's
yes,
happening
yes, you're right.
there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing changed right now. It's getting worse. It's
Yes.
getting worse. Very hard situation. That's right.
So I have a question. Go ahead, Neka. Go ahead, Neka.
No, I just wonder because I feel like I'm informed. I hear a little bit, but I'm praying that this can be mobilized on social media.
Yes.
Because look at how many, even something happening in the most obscure part of Africa, someone mobilizes in social media, the world gets to hear about it. I think that we have to expose what's happening there more. Because my mind is blown by what I
Yes.
just heard.
Yes.
And I don't know why I don't know about it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes. These are pictures that I'm showing of Buenaventura, Colombia, and different places. This is our little queen, our young people that's now developing, and how can this young lady survive in that chaos?
Oh, it's something else. Let me go back to let's go back to Sister Nika. When I was providing the information just now for Colombia, I mean, when you also look at the numbers in Nigeria, you want to talk about an oxymoron. You want to talk about two opposite polar ends of the perspective, being on the sun and being on the moon at the same time. It is amazing. You're talking about a country, again, the seventh largest population in the world, 27th biggest economy, the largest nation in Africa. Okay, 12% of the oil industry. However, out of 195 countries in the world, 193 recognized by the UN, they have the sixth highest mortality rate in the entire world. That the mortality rate is at the age of 18 to 60. The average life expectancy today is 55 years old. That is the mortality rate in America in the 1950s.
Yep.
They have not advanced at all. But however, again, they're leading with this economy and all these resources, and they're not the ones benefiting from it. However, check this out. They are of the British Commonwealth. Meanwhile, the nation that colonized them, that invaded and extracted their resources, their mortality rate is one of the lowest in the world, and their life expectancy is in the top 10, being 81 years old.
Yeah.
And that's just alarming. That's alarming.
It is. It is. Go ahead, Nika.
I don't know if anymore officially, I have to check because it's been in and out, but I don't know if officially if we're still part of the British Commonwealth. But whether we are or not, Britain still influences a lot what is happening.
Yes.
Exactly.
More than, well, she shouldn't at all, but
they recognize themselves as. Exactly. They're independent since 1960. They're independent, but they still recognize themselves as being a part, and they carry themselves as such, and that's where the influence comes from.
Yes.
The reason for the language, for English to continue to be used is there were 508 languages in Nigeria. If you break it down and call some of them dialects, then it's still 230 something. So that since we were unified, these nations were all unified by force, the use of English is just practical. Yeah, but in many schools, people are also taught their languages. Before, a lot of places you were taught in your language and also taught English, but then that changed to just English. So, yeah, we're
Yes.
I want
just
to touch a topic with James. James, talk to us about the products that we have in Colombia that many are exporting. We have the moringa, Sasha Anshi. We have so many good products. I'm getting ready to start my agricultural business because there's so much that, and I want to put it this way, Africa, there's a lot that's in Colombia that you can ship from Colombia to this whole region. And I am talking Panama, I'm talking America, I'm talking about a whole lot of region. They don't have to ship products all the way from Africa. Colombia they're so fruitful. Talk about the products that they normally export in Colombia.
Okay, Melia. Basically, right now it's a very hard situation with the products, agriculture products in Colombia because the situation about the
The
cocaine and
coronavirus.
all that stuff, and
Yeah, but
also
tell us
coronavirus.
normally before the
But normally,
coronavirus. Yeah, before the
actually,
coronavirus.
for example, here in the valley, we got sugar cane, but we don't run that products. Okay, actually, we cut the sugar cane, but we are not the owner. So we need to change that situation a little
Yes,
bit.
yes,
Also, in Cauca, we have some coconut, and we have so many products, but it's hard for people to send it to another country because we don't have that interchange between our cultures.
yeah,
So while
yeah,
you are thinking about to unionize our people and trade between us, will be is a very good idea
yes,
because
yes.
it can develop our economic. So
Exactly.
we first we need to have the contact. They try to develop our economic. Then we look at the products because the product is already on the land.
Yes,
Anytime
yes.
we can put products on the land and we grow them. But who gonna buy it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody can buy that. So people they don't waste time with that. That's the situation.
Right, because when I was in that region, the problem was that the land is very fertile. The thing is that
Yes.
there's a lot of red tape when it comes to the exporting. And what I am saying, we can fix that. We can have businessmen and women from Africa to come in and establish business or businesses in that region, because I'm going to tell you there is a lot. For example, the moringa. Moringa, I have moringa here at home, and it's very helpful for your blood sugar and high blood pressure and all these different things. And there's a whole lot of other products as well. When you talk about seafood, oh my God, you want to export seafood from Buenaventura region and all these other regions in Colombia. There's a whole lot of fruitful things. The land is fertile. They have everything. Go ahead.
Yes, Melia. But look at this. In Buenaventura is just a port.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a port.
Mm-hmm.
But in the countryside around Buenaventura, in the coast, in the ocean,
Yes.
Pacific Ocean, we don't have roads. It's very
Exactly.
expensive.
Exactly.
We don't have at all. Even we have three states that are together in the Pacific Ocean where our black people live, and they don't have connection with each other. They can connect the main cities, or the non-main cities is connected.
Right.
So that's a big problem to interchange. So there is no way, because it's expensive. So we cannot compete with non-country. We cannot compete with other regions if we do it like that.
But this is
Because the
why
price,
this is why we have this platform, James, because business people can come in, they can make those the bridges. I'm talking about people of African descent that have the money and don't know what to do with their money.
Very
We
true.
are
okay,
communicating. This is the idea. This is why I'm having this show. We need to, you know how many African businessmen are traveling all over to Europe, spending their money when there are opportunities in these regions. All you have to do is put a bridge and you can start doing business right away. The business is there. I'm talking Haiti too. IT in Haiti. It's fertile. The land is fertile. There, you know, in Haiti has a lot of seafood. But you know what the problem is, James?
yeah, yes, yeah,
They don't have the equipment, the proper boats to go out and get the fish. You
yes,
understand? That is our problem because we are economically poor. But we don't have to be, because all of the African Americans in the United States that are spending trillions of dollars, there are great opportunities right next door to you, but you don't know it. And this is why I'm bringing this to you. All the gym shoes that you're paying five, 600, thousands of dollars, you can go into business now. All of the expensive things and the money that you're spending you go to work, you work for the European, and you take that same money and you give it back to him. This is time now for us to start circulating our money.
Yeah, we need to coach. We need
perfect.
to economically buy in. We need to
Yes,
economically buy into each other. And I think the way to do that is, again, we have to start with getting people culturally aligned.
yes,
We see each other as foreign as if we're on different planets. But
yes,
looking at us all right now, I'm from, in Tennessee, growing up in the inner city. You know, we have people over here in Panama. We have Nigeria. We have Colombia. But if you look at us, we all look just alike.
that's right.
Just alike. We can be related.
We're
We
the
can be
same.
related,
No matter where we are.
Yeah, we can be related.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, though, is what I'm saying is that without people being aware of what's going on, we've been conditioned,
Yes,
even in America, since the time in the 16, 17, 1800 with the slave codes, the black codes, on to the Jim Crow, 1878 to 1964. We've been conditioned to buy out of our culture
okay.
and out of our economies, rather buying into our own.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
like you said, we have $1.3 trillion
Yes,
in
yes,
purchasing power, but
yes,
it's circulating in communities that look like us
that's right.
less than 1% of the time.
That's right. Awesome. Isn't it awesome?
Oh man.
That's awesome.
That's-
Well,
yeah.
our show just came to an end. This was an awesome,
Oh,
awesome show. I know, right?
this for sure. We need to go back
You
and to have
never
another
came back.
interesting topic.
But next time, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. James Busa and
Definitely.
my lovely queen, Mr. Neka Obasi, and our co-host, Marcellus Hall.
Thank
And before we go, though, I'm going to give you guys the last words, and you can start, Mr. James, if you would like to say anything to the audience before we go.
Okay, no, it's thanks very much for watching us, and also it's about the situation, the racist situation around the world. We're gonna keep fighting that, and we need to stop racist at all. we are human beings. That's the way people need to look at us, as human beings. That's it. We don't need a hand they give us. We can do ourselves.
Well,
Just keep your needs arm and neck. That's it. That's all we need.
That's right.
exactly.
Queen?
Thank you. What I want us to be aware of is that there have been times in history where we've come together. If I look at the as far back as the 1940s, people like Sidney Poitier and some of our well-known actors and musicians of the time, they were in Africa during the independence struggle in African civil rights movement. There was collusion. People were working together. Whenever that happens, there's always divide and rule. Let's stop letting people get in our heads to separate us from one another. We are one. There's just one black race, and we originated from Mother Africa.
That's right.
Divide and rule, the same old trick. Don't let's decide that it won't work anymore. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Marcellus?
Oh, it's always blessings and peace and abundance of love to always work with you. To the Queen and to the King, it's just been amazing
Yes.
to hear from you. And I say this with the deepest sincerity. Growing up in the land of America, where the conditioning has been some of the worst that we've seen in the history of Black people, and now at my age, decades later, to have these experiences, to sit with people that I never even knew existed, that I'm telling you we never read in history books, that we these things have never came up. But now to visit these places, go to these places and speak with the people personally, I'm letting you know firsthand the impact, the magnitude of the life that it radiates, and just opens your mind and your eyes to the possibilities that they may have just gotten it wrong. We are the true kings and queens of this world, and we need to stand up and take the shackles off our minds and
Yes.
get it together and liberate one another. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you. I appreciate your comments. And I just want to say to the audience, thank you for watching Love, Truth, and Peace. And I'm going to leave this with you. It is time for us to unite. You see what's happening. I'm going to stretch out and I'm going to say, eventually there's going to be a civil war here in this country. The problem is that there has been a war against Black people from the time we got here, but we did not recognize that we are at war. Why? Is because now we have a job, now we have a house, and now we can walk freely in the streets. But let me tell you something, we're not free. We're still enslaved, and we have to stop. The first thing I suggest that we do is change our mindset. It is the key to freedom. Change the mindset, because once you change the mindset, you're going to recognize that all of what we were taught, no, trained, is an illusion. We were trained to love a God that Europeans had presented to us.
Yes.
And once you love that God, you're going to love him and worship him. And when I visited Africa, I saw that with my own eyes. I see it in Latin America. I see it in the Caribbean. I see it everywhere. When I walk in a room, no one budge. When a white man or a white woman walk in, everybody stand up and everybody salute as though that they're gods. That is an illusion. It's time for us now to love one another, but you have to change your mindset first. If you don't love you, you can't love me. So therefore, it is time now for us to unite. And I am not just talking about people of African descent. I am talking about those that are suffering in the world. I am talking about humanity, because it's time enough now for us to stop looking at the color of our skin. That is an illusion, because there's no way you can be even superior to me based on just the color. The only way you have the privilege is because people of Africa came to this country and many other countries and worked for free. So that's how you are able to be privileged. No more, no
No
more,
more.
no more. We cannot breathe, but now we are breathing. Now we are becoming aware, and the time is now. I want to thank all of you for watching Love, Truth, and Peace. Thank
Right.
you, and have a
Right.
blessed,
Right.
blessed day.